Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. Picture it. It's a rainy summer day in 1987. Your aunt and uncle came up with your two cousins, and the grown-ups went out to have lunch and stuff and so forth and left the kids at home. And your cousin gets the idea and starts unloading all the stuff out of his parents' giant suitcase. And he takes it to the edge of the stairs. And he says, "Cuz, zip me up inside the suitcase and throw me down the stairs." So I did. And when he got down to the bottom of the stairs, he's laughing his head off. So I go down and unzip it. It's like, as soon as I unzip it, he's like, "You want to try?" And I was like, "Yes." So I get in the suitcase. Throw down the stairs. Eventually, the two younger girls come up and say, "What are you guys doing? We heard all this banging." It's like we're zipping each other in the suitcase, throwing each other down the stairs. And that's how in 1987 you had fun. You know, I mean, I guess we're very lucky nobody got hurt. We were very lucky that nobody broke anything, knocked out a banister or something like that, put some hole in some drywall or something. But I don't know. Maybe it would have been a better time if somebody had just given me an iPad on that day. Maybe it would have been safer for all of us. So I know I get I harp on technology, and two kids are way too much into the screens, but that's what we did when Atari was boring. I was thinking about that Atari game Stampede, where it's just you riding on a horse and a little lasso comes out and you're supposed to catch the cows. And that was the game. The black cows were worth more points, Black Angus. So we zipped each other up in a suitcase and threw each other down the stairs. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I am your host, the Madman. I want to remind you that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. Or you can send me cash through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio. Follow me on social media at DNALETSAW. That's the word wasteland spelled backwards on Twitter. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook, and at SLRobbins13 on Instagram. Also have books available for digital download. Search for the author Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's on Amazon.com, or you can follow the links down in the description below. So, I had the baseball game this weekend. That was a lot of fun. I posted some pictures up on Instagram, those of you who follow there. My sister took a bunch of the pictures, and so she's like, send me some of those pictures. And so there was a string of 4 or 5 of pictures of, because I was changing a number on the scoreboard, and there's 4 or 5 pictures of my ass, right? And I was like, "Why'd you even take those pictures?" And she's like, I said, "You don't have to select any of those. Send me, you can skip those. You can delete those forever, as a matter of fact." It's like, even Instagram ass models will take 4 or 5 shots before they're happy with one. I don't think anyone likes seeing their own ass. So, I mean, when it comes to photographing other people's asses, you should be considerate of that kind of thing. That's just my opinion. Anyway, it was a really happy birthday. $16 beers. Holy cow. They really got you over a barrel in that place. But it was I got to flirt with a cute girl. She probably didn't know I was flirting with her, but, I get to say I was flirting with her. Now, she wore a little too much makeup than I prefer, but hey, she was beautiful anyway. It's like, when a girl is beautiful anyway and she wears makeup, you're like, you're going the extra mile for no reason. And what else did I do? I also met a fire controlman, a guy who was in the Navy as a fire controlman. And I wore this shirt so I can promo the brand, fly the flag, and so forth. So if there's any new subscribers, new viewers today, welcome. Hey, how you doing? That was a fun game, even though we lost. So happy birthday to me and all that. So I don't have to talk about me for another year, but I will. I want to talk about this story that happened before I went in the Navy. Picture this. It's 1996. What? Is it time for the first picture? No. That's like 2 or 3 more segments away. Picture this. You're about, back in the 90s, like 1996. Me and some friends go out to a party out in the woods. Now, I don't know if you know anything about rednecks, but rednecks like to party out in the woods. And so we went into a spot out in the woods, a secret place, and one of my friends, his name was Jed, he was the designated driver. He wasn't really a drinker. I, however, was. And so we went out and started, partying with everybody. Jed was the designated driver. The party started winding down. It was like, okay, we're going to pile up in Jed's car. And so all three of us, four of us get into this car. And we start driving back home. And as we're going back home, Jed's like, I got to get some gas. I'm running out of gas. So we pull into this gas station. The other two in the back seat are fast asleep. Me, I'm always wired. I'm really like last man standing. El último hombre. And so Jed like pumps some gas, and I'm talking to him outside, smoking a cigarette by the gas pump, how we did in the 90s. And so he fills up his tank, and he would go inside, and there's this girl behind the glass. It's like bulletproof glass or something. Like she's got like a college textbook out in front of her and a bunch of papers and stuff like that. Head down on the book, just sawing logs. So I turned to Jed and I said, well, I guess it's free today. Everything's free today. And Jed, to his credit, knew I was joking and knocked on the window to wake the girl up, right? Because if she wakes up, she pops up real quick, knowing that where she fell asleep. And when she does, there's this big line of drool coming with her. Just this, it's like a rubber band sound. And she goes, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. We ended up paying for what we were buying. I was getting a soda. Jed was paying for the gas and the soda, maybe a pack of Camel Lights back then. And I just, every now and then I wonder where that girl is today, because we got dirt on her. And, it's funny because, I don't know, I think everyone kind of has a story like that at some point in their life, especially like when you're my age. This is where, some poor college students, exhausted, they do working this job, just to afford school. And, I give college educated people a hard time, but in many ways, they really do got to work hard to get an education. I think those kind of people who work hard to get the education are more likely to be successful with that education. So good for her for sticking it out. And good for my friend Jed for not taking me up on my dare to just rob the place. Because he knew I was drunk enough and in the mood to do it. Because back then, I didn't have any medication. My problems weren't treated. Anyway, so I guess, I don't know. Every now and then that memory pops up into my head, and it's like, that's a fun one. So, did you hear about the writer's strike? The writer's strike. So the writers apparently are striking. And I looked it up, and I was hoping it was because it's like, we cannot write in this environment. We can't make jokes funny because we're not allowed to say certain things. We're not allowed to criticize certain people. I was hoping that was the strike. What the strike was about, but no, it's as what most strikes are usually about, which is more money, more air. More freedom, more air. And so here's my question: is like the current series of shows is going to continue playing out until the writer's strike catches up. All right. However, late night talk shows have felt the effect immediately. The writers for the talk shows are striking and not writing for these talk shows, so these talk shows are switching to reruns of other things. And I guess that's fine. But here's my question about the writing staff at NBC, NBC Universal or whatever like that, and the writing staff here at Shock Monkey Radio. Here at Shock Monkey Radio, there is let me count the writing staff. There's one writer here. That's me. All right. And so here's my question: Can Seth Meyers write? Can people like that write? Who are like Jimmy Kimmel? Can Jimmy Kimmel not write? I know he can write. So let me ask you: these talk show guys? I feel like this mic's going to fall over. These talk show guys, are you just a mouthpiece? Do you just spout off what is read on the paper? Because if you are, it's like, I really don't understand why you have that job. I understand I'm not a, good looking or even good sounding presenter. I'm probably better as a writer than a performer. Absolutely. But I write my own stuff. It's like, how hard is it to fill an hour worth of time of writing? It's really not that hard. It really isn't. What I got I don't know, 100 words. And a third of that is the warning. And it gives me ideas, it puts thoughts in my head, and I know what to talk about because I know my thought process on these things. So I just don't understand. It's like, why do these shows get all this attention, all this money, all this support from these legacy media organizations? Because apparently they need a staff of 50 people to do an entertaining show. It's just EK and I in the room right now. So where's your money going? It should be going to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. EK's, is the mic okay? The mic's fine.
Well, it's just, I hear it.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
I just keep looking up. I was like, what's happening?
Well, perhaps what we're paying for with NBC is the production value. Hey, Jimmy Kimmel isn't grabbing the mic every 5 seconds. He isn't touching his nose every 30 seconds, all right? People have said that. It's like, why are you always doing this? It's like, because it's like every Wednesday I trim my nose hairs. It's the only day I'm self-conscious of what I look like. Because I'm not a performer. I'm a writer. And my show has always been better than Seth Meyers and Jimmy Kimmel. You can disagree all you want. But I have more interesting to say than the team of writers that those idiots are get writings for. I'm way out of limb when it comes to verb tense. Anyway, I'm going to go on to this next topic. Are you single in 2023? Are you single in 2023? Listen, you poly people, you ethically non-monogamous people, you are crazy and you are destined for heartbreak. Or, more likely, you are already heartbroken. Hey, baby, you know I love you, but I want to get some strange. And see, by me telling you that I want to get some strange, that's ethical of me. So maybe it'd be ethical of you and your friend Kim to become bisexual and fulfill my weird, perverse needs. And that's what it seems like this is all about, this ethically non-monogamous stuff. Is like, people think they have this, like, I don't know, like right, or it's their nature to cheat. And it's like, humans aren't supposed to be monogamous. And it's like, that's ridiculous. You know, I don't want to have sex with more than one woman ever. You know, having not done that, having had sex with more than one woman, I realize it's better to only know one terrifying female form. Because they're scary creatures. They're scary creatures. I'm kidding. They're lovely. They're lovely and scary creatures. But my point is that don't you want that total love and devotion from another person? And if somebody comes to you and they say, yeah, I want to cheat, but I'm being ethical about it, it's like, you understand that just because they say they're being ethical doesn't mean they're being ethical. All right? I really don't understand this. And it's like, you know, like a guy and a girl together, you know, one person is impossible to please. All right? Two is a nightmare. You start adding on to that and it's a living hell. You people are crazy. You're out of your mind. You're heartbroken. You need to sever it. You need to cut the ties, you know, cut it off. And me and my friends, we've always had this rule. If she cheats, she's gone. Cheating is a deal breaker. It's a deal breaker. And if somebody even says they want to have sex with somebody else, and if you say, are you serious? And if they're like, no, it's just, you know, it's kind of like, I've thought about it. If it's anything other than that, then sever it. It's just, you're going to hurt yourself and more likely another person, maybe even two or three. Because when you start adding people to a relationship, when the relationship breaks up, that compounds, it's like a bigger explosion. Human relationships are complicated enough. Why do you got to try to set it on hard mode? Anyway, I want to talk about one more thing before we get into the news worth knowing. And you know how I like to watch movies, but I've been on a tear about them lately, so I'm only going to do one this week. And it's because I saw this poster for the movie 1986 movie, The Wraith. And EK could pull up the Wraith image. This 1986. Now look at that poster. Don't you want to see that movie based upon that poster alone? And that's how they got me. You know, that looks like an awesome movie. But unfortunately, not so much. I mean, it was a really cool concept. It was but it was poorly executed. I thought poorly executed, and I didn't like where the story went, especially at the end. I think it could have been way cooler than it was. However, the basic concept was pretty cool. Picture this. It's 1986 in the roads of New Mexico. It's some strange lights in the sky form on the highway, and a really strange concept car goes by. Ooh, weird setup. All right, next thing you know, you got a couple of guys in 1986, hot rods, stock car hot rods. You got a Corvette, you got a Dodge supercharged Daytona or whatever, like I know cars. And they're like racing for pink slips and stuff like that. It's like, apparently it's a place in 1986 New Mexico that thinks it's in 1958 New Mexico. Anyway, so they're racing for pink slips. And there's this bully, he's like 6'3" or something like that. And he's the only guy who carries a switchblade. Apparently nobody else can get a switchblade in this town. And so he bullies everybody else. And so that's just kind of the setup. And so this Wraith thing shows up, and they start racing against this strange concept car that nobody's ever seen before. It's called a Lexus or something. And so they're racing against this guy, and bad things happen to anybody who races this guy. Let's just put it that way. And I don't want to spoil the plot. I know sometimes I usually do, but I mean, I want to talk about the actors in this film, because I thought it was interesting seeing these actors in this particular time. First of all, it stars Charlie Sheen. Now, 1986 Charlie Sheen is like, wow, what a good-looking kid he was. It's understandable. It's like you look back over Charlie Sheen's career and you understand why he got as much work as he did. I mean, he was a really good-looking guy, and so and it's interesting where he is now, and so it's like, what happened to you? What happened to you, poor guy? What happened to you, Chuck? I know Hollywood's a weird place, and so, it can chew you up and spit you out. So I thought that was interesting because Charlie Sheen, but I didn't think his performance is particularly notable. I didn't think he was more of a pretty face at that point. The bully, I forget the name they gave him. Anyway, was played by Nick Cassavetes. And like I said, he's like 6'3", 6'4", something like that. And watching a guy who's 6'3", 6'4" climb into a Corvette is always funny. Because if you know anything about Corvettes and how low they are, especially like in 86, and how small they are. So watching a guy that tall get into a Corvette is always funny. And because the reason is the guy who's that tall, they usually drive trucks, so they could just slide into, from standing position. Guys who are that tall do not like getting down into a go-kart, all right? Randy Quaid was in there. He played the police officer. And Clint Howard was in there playing the weird ugly guy. But the one actress I want to talk about is the gorgeous Sherilyn Fenn. Now, Sherilyn Fenn, you can go ahead and bring her up. She was much younger than this, but this is the best picture I found of her on the internet. And look, that's a 10, right? That's a 10. All right? And she's been beautiful for a long time. And so I showed EK a clip. If you want to go see this clip, go on YouTube and search shameless lip massage scene. All right? And in that scene, Sherilyn Fenn, who's much older than she was in this movie, gives a foot massage to her grandson. And I find it to be weird. I find it to be hilarious. And a little bit sexy, that scene. All right? Because it's Sherilyn Fenn. It's this gorgeous hottie right here. All right? And when I first saw that scene, I had to, because I knew that like mole, that little beauty mark on the side of her face. It's like, I've seen that before. That's a recognizable feature. So I went and Googled, like, cast of Shameless and, like, who played the grandma? Sherilyn Fenn. And I went and read through her filmography or whatever, everything she's done. Is like, oh, that's where I saw her. And The Wraith was one of her earliest films. And in that, she's more blondish, like blonde and brown, and her eyes just didn't pop like they do when she was brunette. Anyway, what a gorgeous lady. Anyway, like I said, I don't want to ruin the plot. But, I mean, it was such a cool concept. And they just crap the bed. It's more of a love story than anything. It's interesting because in 1986, it's not the kind of movie my parents would let me watch when I was 9, 10 years old and so forth. Because there's boobies, there's violence, you know, there's racing cars recklessly. You know, I thought it was funny because I wish I could. Packard was Nick Cassavetes' role in that movie. And he was like, it's just a tall bully who carried a switchblade. And like I said, like apparently nobody knew how to get a switchblade, nor did anyone know how to conspire. So everyone in town is being bullied by this guy, and no two people ever said, hey, let's jump him, take away his switchblade, beat the piss out of him, and says, you're not getting your switchblade back until we feel that you can respect other people. Because that's what you do with people like Packard. But apparently that never works. Anyway. Tired of ranting. No, not really. It's kind of like all I do. It's somebody said like only 30 to 50% of people have like an interior monologue, and like that can't be right. That can't be right, can it? Do you think that's correct, EK?
I was talking to myself.
See, EK wasn't even paying attention because he was busy talking to himself.
Bro.
What? 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 What did I miss?
I was having a conversation with my inner monologue.
Oh, he was talking to himself. That's my point. That's my point. Sometimes people, you ever been there staring at something like, you know, and someone will say, are you okay? It's like, yeah. There's that video of Beyonce at a basketball game, and she's just kind of like mouthing words, and her head's going back and forth and stuff like that. And people point at it and say, see, the Illuminati's got chips in her head and stuff like that. And it's like, no, that girl is a musician and a dancer, and she's at a basketball game. She's in her head. She's dancing in the studio in her head to a song in her head. Me, when I'm just staring at the ground and somebody's like, are you okay? You feel all right? Yeah, I'm in the chocolate factory. You know, I'm licking the walls, tasting the snozberries. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, I wonder if that's true. If there's people who their minds are blank. What's that like? What's having your mind blank be like?
Ask the president.
Dude, dreams. I mean, even when I'm sleeping, I had nightmares last night. My brain is always on. And it frustrates me when I go to sleep. I just want to put my head in the pillow, go to sleep, and then wake up. But no, I got to go sit through 6 hours of a theater of my mind. All right, let's get into the news worth knowing. I'll get mad at something else now. God grant me the serenity. All right. Border Patrol apprehends over 10,000 migrants a day ahead of Title 42's end, the highest ever recorded. Border Patrol agents apprehended over 10,000 migrants on both Monday and Tuesday, CBP sources tell Fox News, marking the highest single day totals ever recorded ahead of the Title 42 public health order later this week, tomorrow. Sources say agents apprehended at least 10,300 migrants who crossed illegally on Tuesday. In addition to over 10,000 accounted on Monday, there are currently 28,500 migrants in custody. Fox is told that the numbers are expected to keep increasing ahead of the end of the Title 42 order on Thursday. Officials have been preparing for months for an expected surge in migration across the border once the order ends. The order has been used since March 2020 by both the Trump and Biden administrations to expel hundreds of thousands of migrants quickly due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In March, nearly half of all migrant encounters ended in Title 42 expulsion. Only half? Officials and lawmakers have feared that migrants, believing they're more likely to be admitted to the U.S. once the order ends, will head to the border in numbers not even seen during the 2-year migrant crisis so far. Officials had previously painted a worst-case scenario of up to 14,000 encounters a day. Migrants have been surging into the border areas like Brownsville and El Paso in Texas, where thousands of migrants have been camped out on the streets. Officials later launched a targeted enforcement operation to handle the increase, where pamphlets were given to migrants to urge them to head to nearby processing centers. Administration has been urging migrants not to make the journey north, claiming they will be removed if they enter illegally, but so far it does not appear as if it is acting as a deterrent. Of course not. All right. I don't want to read this whole article because, I mean, they're stacking up over there. They're stacking up on the border. They're waiting for this Title 42 thing to end so they can get in and not get expelled. Because they know the Democrats are going to let them stay in. And they're like, okay, you're not allowed in this country, so here's your court date. Now go out into our country and promise you'll be back at that court date. Because that's how they do it. And the Democrats want that because they think these people are going to come in and, like, you know, maybe, one day give them amnesty and give them the right to vote or something like that, and then they'll all vote Democrat because they let them into the country. You know, we need to protect our borders. You know, I mean, I think even, I don't know if this article said it, but yeah, they sent some troops down there, but it's not enough. I mean, even the Biden administration knows that there's a problem brewing here. I think he said it today. So when are people going to start taking these things seriously? You know, this isn't a game, you know, this is life. It's the one you get. So go and have yourself a ball. This is it. All right. Let's go to this next story. Biden family received millions from foreign nationals. Tried to conceal source of funds. House Oversight Committee. Duh. Anyway, so let's go read the article. The article. The House Oversight and Accountability Committee said the Biden family and its business associates created more than 20 companies and received more than $10 million from foreign nationals while Joe Biden served as vice president, and that some of these payments could indicate attempts to the Biden family to, quote, peddle influence. Committee Chairman James Comer from Kentucky released a memo ahead of his press conference Wednesday that includes new information from his investigation into the Biden family's influence peddling and business schemes, quote unquote. The memo said the Biden family appeared to take steps to conceal the source and total amount received from the foreign companies, quote unquote. The committee subpoenaed 4 different banks as part of a probe and received thousands of records in response. Those subpoenas were tailored to specific individuals and companies that engaged in business activities with the Biden family members and their business associates, the memo said. Who wrote this article? Brooke Singman? Every single sentence it begins with her writing and then ends with a quote. All right, watch my air quotes. It said Biden family members and business associates created a web of over 20 companies. Most were limited liability companies formed during Joe Biden's vice presidency. Period. The committee said the companies were formed mostly in Delaware and Washington, D.C., with the help of Hunter Biden's business partners Rob Walker and James Giller. No quotes on that one. This one begins with a quote. After assuming the vice presidency in 2009, records reveal Hunter Biden and his business associates formed at least 15 companies, the memo said. Those companies included Lion Hall Group, LLC, Awasako PC, Robinson Walker, LLC, Scan Teles, LLC, Seneca Global Advisors, LLC, Rosemont Seneca Partners, LLC. You get it. Jeepers. Quote, bank records show the Biden family and their business associates and their companies received over $10 million from foreign nationals companies, the memo said. Adding that the committee identified payments to Biden family members and foreign companies, quote, while Joe Biden served as vice president and after he left public office. How'd you graduate college, lady? The Biden family used business associates companies to receive millions of dollars in foreign companies, the memo said, adding that the Biden family, quote, received incremental payments over time to different bank accounts. In some instances, the Biden associates would receive significant deposits from foreign sources into their bank accounts and then transfer smaller incremental payments into Biden bank accounts. The memo said, holy cow. She keeps saying that. And then goes into quotes again. These complicated and seemingly unnecessary financial transactions appear to be a concerted effort to conceal the source of total amount received from the foreign companies.
The memo said.
I'm getting mad on so many different levels. Content of the article and the way the article is written. It said that Chinese nationals and companies, quote, with significant ties to Chinese intelligence and Chinese Communist Party, hid the source of the funds by layering domestic limited liability companies. Here she does it again. Another paragraph. The committee says it's investigating, quote, the opaque corporate structure of particular Biden-affiliated companies, the companies' complicated connections with each other, whether these companies maintained in books and records, and why foreign nationals sought to partner with and engage in businesses with specific Biden family members and their companies. All right. It seems a lot. Only a couple quotes in here. All right. Here's an interesting paragraph. All right. It said it already sees signs that the Biden family may have collected money from foreign nationals trying to influence U.S. policy. That's a whole sentence you did without using quotes. Let's see if you can do it twice. For example, the committee said it discovered that Hunter Biden, through its associate Rob Walker, received more than $1 million from a foreign company reportedly controlled by Gabriel Popoviciu, the subject of a criminal probe and prosecution for corruption in Romania. Period. Can you go 3? Then Vice President Biden met with Romanian leaders in 2014 and 2015 regarding corruption in the country. You almost made it through a whole paragraph, babe. The committee is concerned about the Biden family patterns, this is all quoted, of courting businesses in regions of the world in which the vice president had an outsized role and influenced U.S. policy, the memo said. He's over there waiting for the memo said. The Biden family associates' activities in Romania bear clear indica. What?
Indica?
It says indica. INDICA. I think we know where the problem is. I think it's supposed to be indicates. We found the problem with the writer. This is the subject matter of this article is a whole different story. Man, I'm in like meta limbo right now. All right. Indications of a scheme to peddle influence from 2015 to 2017. The committee said it found, in addition to Hunter Biden, James Gilliar, and Rob Walker receiving foreign funds, James Biden, Haley Biden, and other Bidens, quote unquote, also received foreign payments. Twice in the same sentence. The memo indicated a breakdown of transactions from Chinese and Romanian nationals and companies. Specifically, with regard to China, the memo points to 2 people, Yi Jianming, and Gong Wendong, and warned particular Chinese business venture posted potential threats to American national security. Both people were connected to Hunter Biden's joint venture with Chinese energy company CEFC. The memo said. Memo said that Ye had close ties to the highest levels of the Chinese Communist Party and reportedly Deputy Secretary General for the International Outreach Arm of the People's Liberation Army. Ye was detained later by the CCP in 2018. Just for the fun, I'm going to read this next paragraph. The Bidens received millions of dollars from the Chinese partnership, the memo said. When Ye was detained by the Chinese, Hunter Biden then attempted to distance himself from the relationship by claiming that he has never been paid by the CEFC. This was false. End quote. I'm going to end quoting this article because it is infuriating. Oh my God. Listen, I mean, the corruption. All right, the content of the story is incredibly relevant. So why did you put your worst writer on it? You know, it's the corruption that you see here is just so, that should be what's infuriating. But the English teacher, the part of me that wished I was an English teacher, is just infuriated by the repetition, the quoting within a sentence.
Who was your peer reviewer?
Oh, right. Who's your editor? You have any editors over there at Fox News? Oh, Lord. See, I knew, just that was a strange confluence of anger. Wow. Anyway, so let's go on to this next story, see if we can rustle up any more anger. So CIA, quote, may have assisted in obtaining signatories for letter discrediting Hunter Biden laptop, House GOP report. Oh my God, dude. This is also by Brooke Singman. All right.
Get through it.
Guess how many paragraphs I can get through. How many paragraphs do you think I can get through, EK?
Say 3.
Because I've already proofread the first 3 paragraphs. All right. First on Fox, : that's obviously from Fox. Here's how she begins this article. The Central Intelligence Agency, quote, may have assisted in obtaining signatories, end quote, for the letter signed by 51 former national security officials and to discredit the Hunter Biden laptop as Russian disinformation ahead of the 2020 presidential election, the House Judiciary House Intelligence Committees found. That's one paragraph. All right. The House Judiciary Committee, its subcommittee in the weaponization of the federal government, and the House Intelligence Committee are expected to release a report this week titled, quote, the Hunter Biden statement, how senior intelligence community officials and the Biden campaign worked to mislead American voters.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. Short, terse titles. Anyway, Fox News Digital obtained an early copy from the report stemming from the committee's investigation into the origins of the October 2020 letter signed by 51 ex-national security officials, which claimed that Hunter Biden's laptop had, quote, all the earmarks of a Russian information operation. The memo said. I'm sorry, I kind of miss it now. All right, that was 3. Let's see if I can keep going. The committees have been reviewing how the former intelligence officials came together to, quote, insert themselves into the thick of the presidential campaign. This lady write any other way? Next sentence. The report states that the letter was a political operation to help elect Hunter Biden's father, President Joe Biden, and claims that the Biden campaign took active measures to discredit the allegations about Hunter Biden by exploiting the national security credentials of former intelligence officials. That's one sentence. One sentence. And you went into quotes 2 different times. I made it 5. I made it 5 paragraphs. I can't do it anymore. But I mean, double duh. Obviously, the CIA was involved in suppressing this. FBI probably too. I think that, it's funny because like there's all these people who are actively in intelligence organizations, and they think that there's nobody out here who never worked in intelligence who doesn't have intelligence. And I don't mean like, Humint or SIGINT or anything like that. I just can see what's happening. And so the only way that can happen is through corruption in organizations like the CIA and the FBI. And when organizations like the CIA and the FBI start taking a side of a political party, they are in the wrong. And they need to be cleaned out for their corruption. Because these organizations should not be partisan in any way. Same as the judiciary. And that's what irritates me. It's like, double duh. Anybody who knows anything about what's going on in the news said, duh, of course the CIA coerce these things. Of course the Biden family got money, making money off the name of the Vice President of the United States and peddling influence with it. Obviously. And suppressing that laptop is probably what cost Trump the election. Now you got all this witch hunt on stuff that you're doing with Trump now. I don't know why they're all so terrified of him. Anyway, let's go on to this next story. Hopefully it's written by somebody different. Jessica Chasmar. Well, we'll see what she's got. So California Governor Newsom declines to back reparations checks. Says slavery's legacy is, quote, more than cash payments. Holy cow. First on Fox, California Governor Gavin Newsom declined to endorse cash payments, which could reach as high as $1.2 million for a single recipient, recommended by his reparation task force, telling Fox News Digital that dealing with the legacy of slavery is, quote, is about much more than cash payments. Yeah, I guess they all write the same, maybe. All right, she starts with quotes here. Let's see. The Reparations Task Force independent findings and recommendations are a milestone in our bipartisan effort to advance justice and promote healing. This has been an important process in which we continue to work as a nation to reconcile our original sin of slavery and understand how that history has shaped our country, end quote, Newsom said in a statement to Fox News Digital. While the Democratic governor applauded the task force work, he declined to endorse any specific recommendations, though he pledged to continue to, quote, advance systemic changes to ensure an inclusive and equitable future for all of Californians. This is a quote, dealing with legacy is more about the cash payments. Many of the recommendations put forward by the task force are critical action items that we've already been hard at work addressing. Breaking down the barriers to vote, bolstering resources to address hate, enacting sweeping law enforcement and justice reforms to build trust and safety, strengthening economic mobility, all while investing billions to root out disparities and improve equity in housing, education, healthcare, and well beyond. The work that must continue. Where are you getting all this money, California? Following the task force submission to, this is a continuing quote, following the task force submission to of its final report this summer, I look forward to a continued partnership with the legislation to advance systemic changes that ensure an inclusive and equitable future for all Californians. Boy, this guy's a broken record. This task force recommendation breaks payments down by types of historical discrimination. For instance, black residents affected by redlining of banks would receive $3,366 for each year they lived in California from the early 1930s to the late 1970s, amounting up to about $148,100. Similarly, black residents could receive up to $2,352 in compensation over policing and mass incarceration for each year they lived in California between 1970 and 2020. Those payments could be up to $115,260. For a black Californian who checks enough boxes, the total payout could reach $1.2 million. The task force final recommendations will soon be submitted to California legislature, which will then decide whether to implement the measures and send them to Newsom's desk to be signed into law. This has been a fool's errand from the start, James Gallagher, California Assembly Republican leader, previously told Fox Digital. Democrats have promised the world with this reparations task force, and now the massive taxpayer bill is coming due. Newsom has painted himself into a corner, and he ought to choose between signing off on a ridiculous policy that will bankrupt the state or admitting once and for all that the task force was nothing more than a political stunt. Well, it's a better writer, and so we can get to the heart of the matter. It's not distracting. Yeah, this whole reparations thing, it's really silly, and it's not going to solve anything. You know, even if you give them all the money they ever asked for, they're still going to cry racism. You know, seriously, if they do this, I don't want any, I'm sick of it. You know, I'm sick of it. I don't want to hear any more about racism. If this happens, I don't want to hear it again. You know, and I'm sorry, it's a simple fact. If you think that cops are out there just killing black people willy-nilly, then there wouldn't be all these videos all over the internet of people fighting, running, arguing with cops. It's that simple. They know the cops aren't going to do that. That's why they always pull out the race card. Because now it's a political hot potato that could end up in the news. I'm sick of it. All right, let's get into some lighter topics and then we'll get out of here. Maybe a little bit early. Alrighty. Kansas driver wearing a Bud Light costume was arrested for driving under the influence, deputies say. Deputies in Kansas shared a case of life-imitating art after pulling over a suspected intoxicated driver who is dressed in a beer can costume on Cinco de Mayo. The driver was stopped in the northbound lanes of I-35 near Ottawa on May 5th after other motorists, notified deputies that he was showing signs of possibly driving under the influence of alcohol, the Franklin County Sheriff's Office said on Saturday. Ottawa is located about 50 miles southeast of Topeka. After the driver was pulled over, the Sheriff's Office said that deputies were shocked to see the driver was wearing a costume of a Bud Light can. This is a quote. A career in law enforcement is exciting, and you can get to experience something new every day. The sheriff's office said. Sometimes you see things you can't believe. You telling me you can't believe a Bud Light costume? The driver, who was not publicly identified, was eventually arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol and was taken to Franklin County Jail, the sheriff's office said. The suspect eventually posted bond and was released from custody, Fox 4 Kansas City reported. In a separate case, which made headlines earlier this month, alleged drunk driver Jamie Komorowski, who police say killed a bride and seriously injured her groom on their wedding night, once wore a Bud Light costume on Halloween. Komorowski of Charleston posted the image of herself on Instagram in 2018 dressed as Bud Lightyear in a play on the classic Toy Story character. Captioned the image "To Infinity and Beyond." Ugh. Ugh. That's disgusting. You'll notice nowhere in this article is there a mention of the gender of the guy in the Bud Light costume. Just want to put that out there. Stephen Soros. I read this article several times. It was like, is there any sort of pronoun used in this? It's like, no, it's always the driver or they. You think you're so clever, Fox News. All right. So let's get into this last story, and then we'll head on out of here. American man now identifies as British. Feels like he's died and gone to heaven. All right, there's 2 quotes in that headline. Written by Maureen McKay. A man originally from Chicago who now lives in Miami, Florida, loves British culture and weather so much that he jokingly said he now, quote, identifies as a British man. Well, how do you know that's a joke? Maybe he's serious. And and after all, anyone who claims to identify as something, and doesn't that make him that? Anyway. So I identify as an electromagnetic missile. Anyway, the vlogger, who goes by the name Tilo, last name withheld, said he loves all things British. The food and TV shows and the weather. Even the weather, according to SWNS. Is that the Southwest News Service? Isn't that a British news service? I think it is. So this is a propaganda piece, I think. No guy from Chicago and lives in Miami is like, oh, I love a perfectly brewed cuppa. There's the next sentence. The man said he adores starting off his days with a perfectly brewed cuppa and a homemade chip buddy. Parenthetically, which is a sandwich filled with thick-cut, deep-fried potatoes while watching the British teen sitcom In-Betweeners. Dude, you sound weird as hell. You sound super weird. Tilo's newfound love of British culture started at the beginning of the year, he said, when his online UK followers started suggesting snacks for him to try, as WNS said. Aha! There it is. For some reason, British people like your content. I don't know how you break into that market. How do you break into that market? Anyway. So his first dip into British cuisine started with beans and cheese on toast. Oh, God. And he's never looked back, the news agency noted. The news agency propagandized. Nobody likes that. Who are you kidding? British food is known worldwide for being disgusting. Their cuisine is based upon growing up in subway tunnels while the Germans are bombing the surface. And eating what you had, which was bread and beans. Beans on bread. And the only luxury you had was some good tea, maybe. Anyway, he said, I've been doing YouTube for 5 years now. When I moved to Florida, my subscribers started sending me foods they like and grew up on. Do you really eat foods like people send you? I guess if it's in a package, I guess it's okay. But still, if you sent me any food here, I probably wouldn't eat it. No offense, people. He said that in January, quote, I started trying the items on TikTok because I just felt like the right thing to do on TikTok. And then it just snowballed from there. Tilo said Tilo told SWNS, right? Quote, 99% of the items I've ever tried were sent to me straight from the UK from subscribers. Tilo said he found a British food store on the outskirts of Miami to help feed his obsession. There's British food stores in this country? What? A video shows him exploring the store and sharing his amazement at all the British foods and goods that are available to him. He said, I am in the UK almost, a British marketplace in Florida. He added, I feel like I have almost passed away and gone to heaven. Tilo said he's only visited the shop once, but was able to buy enough items to keep him going for several weeks. There's a picture here of a crisp sandwich, which is potato chips between two pieces of bread. Videos show him cooking some Yorkshire puddings, plating a crisp sandwich, and making his own fried Mars bar. Actually, those are pretty good. If you ever had like fried candy bars, they're pretty good. All right, so he said he still wants to gain a better understanding of British snacks, saying the best things I've had so far are the Chip Buddy, deep fried Mars bar, and tea cakes. Sunday roast is the only one meal I want to try, but it's done properly in the UK. He also told the news service, the worst thing I've tried was tea biscuits, and I'm terrible at making beans and toast. No, you're not terrible at it. It is terrible. The man said he's been searching for UK-themed pubs, bars, and stores in Florida area and is planning on visiting the UK soon. He said, I have a few things in mind. I want to visit subscribers at their homes and have their favorite meals.
Creepy.
Yeah, that's a little creepy. Adding that he wants to try a lot of authentic stuff that can't be replicated in the U.S. like British chicks. I get it. I do. Some of you might remember Rebecca Felgate, but the English accent is a sexy one. Let's be honest. England is an interesting culture, even if its food is terrible. It's my bloodline is English. I'm clearly of English origins, and so I get it. I get the knights and the kings and lords and ladies. It's all very British. Even like Game of Thrones was very British. The North was Scotland. Let's be honest. And the South was London. King's Landing. Welcome to London. Oh, shame on the Queen. Shame on the Queen. Well, I can find another character. King Joffrey's a bastard, ain't he? Oh, he's going to kill that mountain guy, isn't it? Let's be honest. And, the English accent is incredibly unique. And I know I give them a hard time. I know that they're just trying to cheat at Scrabble and all that. But I mean, it's the way they talk is very interesting and unique. And I understand liking the British culture. But liking the weather, liking the food, you are lying. You are lying. London is, in many ways, is like Seattle. All of England, in many ways, is like Seattle. All right? Constantly overcast and wet and raining. That's why so many good musicians come out of there. Because Freddie Mercury was stuck inside playing the piano and singing all day long. Because it's raining. You ever wonder why so much good rock came out of that? Because it's always raining. It's the same thing in Seattle. But, there's not a whole lot of good rock that came out of Seattle. Anyway, to each their own. If you like a culture, I get it. I don't think you can actually identify as, but I mean, you can also, but that's the point. If it was a white person saying, I like African American culture and I want to identify as a black person, and you start collecting Bob Marley t-shirts and stuff like that, and you dread your hair and all that, you may get called out for cultural appropriation. But that's the point. It's like we all appropriate each other's culture. We take the cool aspects of other people's culture. You take Italians, that's good food they got here. British, the way they talk, that's good food here. Wait, no, that's not good food. No! What am I saying? I like the way the British talk. We'll take the way they talk. We like that. You know? That's the point. It's like it's a melting pot. You mix it around. You melt together. I was talking with a friend the other day. It's like, music. Stealing music from other people that's how music evolves. People want to sit there and say like Elvis Presley stole black music or whatever like that, or even Jerry Lee Lewis. Like modern rock and roll. Is rather just white people playing soul. And unfortunately, it's all everyone copies off of everyone else. It's like even we were talking about MC Hammer. We were talking about MC Hammer's Can't Touch This, and how he stole that thing from Rick James. Doo 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 doo. That's Super Freak. All right, but he turned it into Can't Touch This. All right. Clearly, Rick James's version is better, but MC Hammer made something new with it. And that's just a very simple way of presenting how somebody copies other people, And sometimes it's not necessarily copying, And people want to sit there and whine about Vanilla Ice, or Vanilla Ice may want to whine. It's like, oh, Queen took all my money. It's like, you did steal their riff. It's Queen. And would anyone have ever heard of you if you hadn't used that riff? Anyway. So this is going to be the end of the show. I want to remind you that this is a Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. Go to Patreon, patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would appreciate that very much. You can send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag ShockMonkeyRadio, all one word. Follow me on social media at DNALETSAW. That's the word wasteland spelled backwards. I really like T.S. Eliot. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook, and at SL Robbins 13 on Instagram. I also have books available for digital download. Search for the author Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's on Amazon.com. Got the Exit 13 series. I got The Ravings of a Madman and The Bunny Years, a memoir. Yeah, so this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.